And welcome to this edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest, joined by the great Mike Jones here as we try to dive into and decipher and make some kind of deduction as to who's going to come out on top, who's going to come out behind, what kind of total is it going to be on what has been a spectacular run of playoffs, both in the NBA. I don't know that you could have asked for much more. We finally had a home team survive in round number two. Survive is probably not the appropriate word because it looked like the clubbing of seals in the Oklahoma City game against Denver after Denver had taken and fired off the opening salvo in game number one. And you thought, all of the favorites, all of the chalk, Mike Jones, is in a little bit of jeopardy here in the postseason. It was a foregone conclusion by most that analyze basketball. It'll be Celtics Cavs for the Eastern Conference Championship for the right to meet Oklahoma City. While the East looks to be very much in jeopardy, Oklahoma City may have reestablished their superiority over the rest of the competition. You would certainly have to think the winner of the Denver OKC series beats either Golden State or Minnesota from what we saw in game number one, especially with the Steph Curry injury. But in your lifetime, Mike Jones, and I know you're Mr. In-game betting in defiance of us being a couple of crotchety old farts. You love this, and we were talking about changing your tactics to only betting, not betting a dime on the game before it starts, but only betting when it appears one team is hopelessly out of it and being badly outplayed. And that happened two nights or two games in a row anyway, in a span of 3 nights, as the New York Knicks down 20 come back at late junctures of both ball games, come back and end up in the winner's circle. What did you make of that? And as a degenerate gambler your entire lifetime, since you were able to first utter words like money line, and I think those were the first words you spoke as a child, but could you have ever imagined a situation like that? And how much of a choke job is that by the Boston Celtics?
Incredible. Incredible. Watching it again last night, thinking a replay, that's not going to happen again. But you're watching what I think is really different in the mindset of everybody as far as pressure. That's what I think it is. I just can't imagine what's happening in Boston after coming off winning a title, playing your rival Knicks, who really you've handled over the last decade or two.
0-4 this
year. Playing hard. You know, the Knicks are figuring it all out, playing hard, contesting the three-point line. You shoot 10 for 40, the same 25%, take 20 less threes, and you just watch them down the stretch, and it just seems the nerves are getting to Boston. Like they can feel it when it's 20, it's 12, it's 7. Bridges takes over the game early in the fourth. You start seeing this is the whole dynamic about where this is going. So, you know, I just look at it this. I have a shade of green on today just to really look at the Celtics and say, what kind of green are you wearing now? Because what you're showing, I don't understand. But, yeah, I look at this as a different moving forward. The Celtics are a 5.5-point favorite at the Garden, and I don't think I would touch them. I'm not saying the Knicks sweep. I'm not saying this, but listen to Colin Cowherd said the Knicks got lucky. They'll never win another game. All these handicappers doing it, and the odds makers are making this. How could it be 10.5? You lose 2 games. 9.5 you lose by 3. 10.5 you lose by 1, blow 20-point leads. The mental part of this game says the Knicks should be around to pick them. The fact that the Celtics are 5.5 is the odds makers still don't believe what they're watching. And I would say I test them in this spot and say, okay, you're only dropping the line 4 points. Yeah, the Celtics should hit better than 25%. Maybe they play better on the road. I made a statement to a guy, get them out of Boston right now. Maybe they can't go out to the grocery store. They're getting but the real part of this is, where is the pressure coming from on all these teams? Minnesota, OKC in game 1. You know, what are they feeling internally? And I think that's really where the handicappers got to try to figure that it's not just the line you're dealing with. You're dealing with a mindset of a player today that has been different than those legends of before who just, you knew when Michael and Magic and Larry went out there, you knew what you were getting all the time. And in this case, because the game has changed, it's more 3-point shot dominant. If a team's off, you know, look at what happens. And that's what you saw with Boston.
Even your own teammates, when you were playing recreational basketball in the park, you might be a great shooter. I'm assuming that with your athletic prowess, that you could chuck them and hoist them from the outside. And as a guy that was shooting from the Coke machine myself, I always felt, unless you're shooting 50%, you're really having a bad game. That was always my barometer, 50% from the field, which wasn't as easy to do. And now a perimeter player, if he shoots 41%, they're like, oh, my God, what a shooter this guy is. Right. But even if you were in those circumstances and you missed your first 4 or 5 shots, which was uncharacteristic, your own guys will be telling you, hey, Take it to the hole one time. Do
Right,
something.
right,
Mix it up.
right,
So what is this Missoula saying during the timeouts? They shoot 25% again. I mean, they didn't hoist as many, but
right.
they go 10 for 40 after going 15 for 60, 25% from three-point range, and yet they do very little else. I mean,
Right.
when Tatum got that dunk towards the end of the game to put them ahead by one, the Knicks went Red Sea defense on that.
Mhm.
He goes right down the middle and dunks because it was such a shock
Yeah.
that they would even try to penetrate. So, how do you not change that up? Where do you think the fault lies? Is obviously the players are the ones out there on the floor, but the coaching staff seems to be really bereft of any kind of influence that
Yeah.
would help shake that off.
Success. Last year's success, they won a title doing the same thing. And now you get into this year and you're seeing something different. Look at the Knicks. Go watch the replays and look at where the Knicks are getting shots. Brunson's taking the ball in the paint. If it's not there, then they look to kick out. More drive and dish. Bridges got a little bit inside, then the 3-point shot became open once he got to the rim. Hart's a couple layups were at the rim. That's a difference. Go back to Indiana. Last year, when they made that run in game two, Halliburton was getting to the basket every time. All their points were scored inside. You have to be, you have to have a dual threat here. You can't, these guys don't practice the 15-footer like Kevin Durant does. It seems like they don't want to take that short 8-9-footer on the baseline when they pump fake and the guy goes. Instead, they want to slide over and hit a three. This is what, I listened to someone talk about Mike D'Antoni. He always said if you took a shot inside 22 feet, inside three, he would pull you. Is that the mindset? Is that the mindset of a player, the rim or three? And I think that's what they're doing. That's why they're so great at these drills that Larry Brown so eloquently said on an NBA radio I was listening to, that he said these guys are unbelievable drill players, but are they in-game players? To me, got to say a lot about Jalen Brunson. What he's getting done now is epic in fourth quarters. The stats are just mind-blowing what he's been doing. Carrying this team on his back. He got a break with Bridges helping him out yesterday. And I just think this is fascinating. And now you kind of got me a little bit more tuned into basketball away from the hockey, which has been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch them both. You need to have 5 TV sets going, to really embrace all this.
When the Knicks appeared to be hopelessly down, and you're thinking this can't happen twice, I turned away from the game and started watching the Toronto Panthers series. And that was a great game, also. Although many people are pointing fingers now at the Panthers, saying they uncharacteristically are playing real sloppy defense and taking stupid penalties. And people are asserting that, and Toronto had the better record during the regular season by a slight margin, but I thought the Panthers would really acquit themselves a lot better and do no worse than a split in the first couple of games. So dead wrong on that. Although I don't think that series is over, and I don't think people would concede that the Knicks were going to come out on top, even though the Celtics now are in that ugly position you get in where you have to win 4 out of 5, and 3 of those games potentially would be on the road. So a very compromising position. But I'm assuming the Panthers aren't out of it. But I go back to the Celtics game just to see the final score, see if they covered the spread. As you mentioned, it was like 10 and a hook. I thought that was too many points for a team that just lost outright and straight up the game before. And I see the tail end of a Jalen Brunson interview where he's thanking the person who's got the microphone courtside. I thought, they don't interview the losing player. So how the hell did the Knicks win? And then I had to go back and see the dissection of it versus via the highlights, and just an absolute shock. All right, in the NBA, we had also, and this happened in the regular season where Denver pulled off a victory, and they were playing back-to-back games against OKC during the regular season, and they won a game straight up, and then got clobbered, annihilated in the next game. I was assuming Denver was starting to really come around. I did not anticipate them losing by 40. In fact, on the show yesterday, I recommended you take the points there, Mike. So I was gargling with cyanide early in the first quarter because that didn't look like it was going to reverse itself.
No.
And what's interesting, the whole dynamic of the playoffs with the narratives going in was everybody was assuming, I think since day one of the regular season or early in the regular season, it was going to be Cleveland and Boston meeting for the Eastern Championship, the winner of which was going to take on Oklahoma City. All that looked in jeopardy, as does the Eastern Conference matchup. But did Oklahoma City show you enough last night, to make you think? I would imagine that they're a better team than either Golden State or Minnesota. And it does appear now, I mean, that you would have to think And not only are they right back in that series, but maybe in a much more commanding position than what we certainly would have thought after they were 0-1 following game one. What do you see there? It's always great when the experts are wrong, but it does seem like Oklahoma City might hold up their end of the bargain.
I see another game where the price is different than what you would normally expect. You might think Oklahoma City might be 2.5. They're 5.
Yeah.
So the distance in the wind told me that the price maker's back to normal thinking that what game one was a fluke. They showed it right in game two. Now they go. So my key look at this whole series is, what does Denver come out after getting embarrassed? Their championship pride, and they do it. I think if Denver wins this game, the series goes 7, and possibly Denver can win maybe in 6. I think if it's another Oklahoma City 10, 12-point win and they look like they have control of the game, this could be markings of the OKC team that we saw during the regular season. So I think you have to adjust. The price maker's telling you to take Oak City. I don't know. I might take the home dog in this spot, just because you love Jokic. He had a terrible game. He made some silly fouls. He turned it over a little bit. Could be they got what they wanted. Down 30 at halftime, said that we're packing it in, even though they played the minutes. They're not getting hurt. It's just to try to go out there to go through the motions. That's what it looked like to me. OKC came out with energy, very similar to what Cleveland came the other night. But you see OKC's got depth and a better team. Cleveland's suffering with injuries. That caused them, their little bit of game two when they're up 14 going in the fourth quarter and end up blowing the game also. I just wonder where the pressure lies. And to me, the pressure probably is more on OKC. It's more on Cleveland. It's more on Boston. It's more on these teams with successful regular seasons that are expected. Their fan base, the social media, expects them to do exactly what you said. And I think this is where we're looking at a new age athlete, that it's just kind of, is there other outside influence other than what goes on the court, what goes on internally? That's really what, as a handicapper, the psychological advantage is where you got to try to add into as well as you look at the line.
Tom Thibodeau looks like he just got ripped off and only got 2 slices of pastrami from Katz's Deli on a sandwich that was supposed to be on rye bread, and it came out on white, doesn't he? I mean, he just looks so aggravated, and he didn't realize it until he was halfway down the street, and there were too many people there to even turn back and go and complain. Plus, they put mustard on it instead of ketchup or whatever. But yeah, he just always looks like he's miserable, and yet came up with the right formula here. His guys have to be just dog tired after the regular season. That they have 3 or 4 guys that played way more minutes than virtually anybody else. And, so it's sort of remarkable. A very intangible judgment call, the Mr. Clutch Award, but I don't think anybody could be angry with the voters who came up with Jalen Brunson from what we've seen so far in the postseason. All right, one game at NBA tonight. Golden State plus 10.5. Minnesota, no Steph Curry. Mike Jones stays.
We say this. How do you sit there and bet Minnesota laying 10.5? So obvious Steph Curry's out of the game. They're laying 11.5 at halftime and don't even come close to the cover in game one. If they shoot another 12 for 76 3-point run, they're not going to win the game.
Yeah.
So now here's where I look this game lies. Playoff Jimmy, right? Our Jimmy Butler goes out to Golden State. What does he give him now when he becomes the offensive leader and threat, similar to what he has been in Miami?
He usually rises to that occasion. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gotten to the finals. So he's not. This situation might not be a problem for him. Look at what you're getting out of Draymond Green. Hit 4 threes the other night. Hit 2 threes in Houston in Game 7. I thought immediately, once I saw that, I said, "Uh-oh, Draymond's hitting that shot that he hasn't hit in 3 years." Now all of a sudden you got that. That could be a little bit get the offense going when your veteran, your tough guy starts playing. The thing I see with this is if Draymond's going to bring up the ball, how much energy is he going to use on offense compared to what they need him inside the paint on defense? He's their big guy. He's their defensive stalwart. The thing that I'm seeing is I love Minnesota's toughness in the Lakers series. What I'm seeing is the bullies of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler might be out toughening the tough guys. And I think the mental breakdown, what Boston's going through, missing all these threes, the 12 for 76, the worst three-point shooting ever, does Minnesota, change their philosophy, try to get to the rim a little bit more? I don't see Anthony Edwards taking a short 12-footer. I see him trying to get to the rim, and there's a lot of traffic there. These guys aren't going to back off in Golden State. I just don't know how you lay 10.5 in this situation, even without Steph Curry, when you have a team that looked as the way they did in game one. I think I want to see it. I don't know that they're OKC that can bounce back and do that. So I would probably look to me to say this is an under game. 201.5. Defense is going to prevail. Golden State's not going to have the scoring. I doubt they're going to try to run. They might get a couple buckets in transition, but they might want to try to slow this game down, figuring they have a better chance of stopping Minnesota in a half court than having multiple possessions go. So my thought would be, I'm scared of the 10.5 to lay it. If I had to grab it, I probably would more grab it. I don't like it. I kind of like another low-scoring game in the series.
All right, let's put our skates on here for a second and see what we think about these NHL games. Last night you had Dallas-Winnipeg, two teams that survived in 7-game series. In the opening round, Dallas prevails by a goal, 3-2. Of course, we mentioned Toronto and Florida. Toronto wins it 4-3, even though it was Stolarz, the former Panther goalie, a backup goalie to Bobrovsky, is out, and we don't know what their prognosis is, the prospectus is for his return. This guy, Wall, who is hardly a Wall in his opening moments of coming in relief, he gives up a couple of goals in the third period in game one, puts the Panthers back in it, but holds up under some pressure last night, and Toronto wins 4-3. Tonight, you have Carolina-Washington. Carolina up 1-0, an overtime win against the Washington Capitals. And Edmonton, who I believe you're in love with. Are you not in love with the Edmonton Oilers? You've been touting them for a while. Going against the Las Vegas Golden Knights on the road. Both of the road teams are up 1-0 in their series. What do you think? Do you have any notion to go one way or the other in either of those two games?
Let's go back to your original statement as we started the podcast. Why not wait? Let's go look at the last 5 or 6 playoff games.
Yeah.
1-0 leads aren't holding up. You had Washington in game one getting out to a 1-0 lead. You could have gotten Carolina 4.5, 5-1 midway through the third period at a 1-0 game.
Wow.
There's the shot right there. Go back and look at the Knights. Get up to a 2-0 lead. You got Edmonton at 5-6-1. If you take that 2-goal lead and take your chances, 1-0, I would think it was 3-1. You know, this is the trends that you're seeing, that these 2-goal leads in hockey aren't safe. The pressure gets to these guys too. You know, watching, St. Louis iced a puck in game 7 3 times inside the last 30 seconds, trying to get that go-ahead goal. Talking to hockey people saying they're coaching that. They're saying that we'll take the icing to risk putting the game away with an empty net goal. Different philosophy. I would carry the puck out, maybe try to get it to mid-ice and then shoot it there, and then you don't have an icing call, and you take 15 seconds off the clock. So all these games come out and say you can bet them at any time and get them. I can go back to say the 2 game 7s. You could have gotten 11-1 on Dallas midway through the third, as well as you could have gotten 9-1 with Winnipeg, down 2 goals. This is what happens. Lucky to get close to it. I look at it this way. Carolina, I think, is the better team. I think they probably win tonight. I would bet them. And I think Edmonton, I want to see the other teams. I said with game 1 losers win games. And it cost me. The low price is only 135 and you're getting 115 with Edmonton. That's the way I would look at it. But I might just hold off and wait and see what happens in the first goal. If Edmonton scores first, maybe Vegas gets their back to the wall and you get them plus 130, 140, and you get a chance. That's the kind of fun that you're having with this new dealing with live betting, is that hockey, there's so many angles. We talk about it with my guys that bet hockey. Like, do you do it? But it's hard to dump $100. They're not going to win. You dump $100. Like the Knicks at plus 15-1. They're not going to win down 17. Then there you go. You're watching history being made. So that's the way I would kind of play it. But I like both teams to go up 2-0 as a better tonight.
I love this about you, Mike Jones. I really do. I warmly embrace it because I remember many years ago there was a group led by the great avant-garde jazz guitarist John McLaughlin. They put out their first album. They had some, just unbelievably talented people in the band. Billy Cobham, Jan Hammer, who wrote all that Miami Vice music. A guy named Jerry Goodman on the electric violin. It was a classic band. And they had a song called Vital Transformation. And as a young guy, when that came out, I was thinking, what exactly does that title mean? And you have made one, a vital transformation from a straight up, just give me a side and maybe a point total, to almost diabolical in-game better, which I believe this to be. I mean, how we've seen it happen too often not to at least take a look at this, a serious look at waiting to until any team, in your opinion, is hopelessly out of it. And then going ahead and pulling the trigger on at big odds, and you don't have to win that frequently. Then you could shoot 25% from 3-point range and still come up making a handsome profit if you've been following that philosophy. But of course, like anything else, I'm going to jump on a bandwagon a little bit too late, and that's a trend that you can't imagine will hold up for very long. And yet, It's been persistent and consistent so far throughout the
Yeah.
playoffs in both the NHL and the NBA. Any baseball thoughts, Mike Jones, before
Yeah,
we
I do.
our exit?
I do have some baseball thoughts. So watch the Marlins Dodgers series. You always love when Otani comes to town. You got to keep an eye on this game. And now, so you bet the Dodgers Marlins have no shot. Well, look what you get. You're 1-2 and you're even with the Marlins, right? So you
Right.
lose 2 out of 3. If you lay the wood with the Dodgers, you lose the 2-1. You win your $100 on the other games. So you're down a couple of bucks. So really, the series is a wash. The Dodgers walk away at a 6.67 win percentage. You walk away down $30-$40 on your $100 wagers. So it's kind of like, is it really tough? You might want to look at in-game betting with this. Dodgers go down 1-0. They've had the lead. They score early. The Marlins take the lead. The numbers go down. But here's the thing with Dodgers. The Dodgers go out, leaving Miami, go to Arizona. I'm a guy that likes to look at road trips, going back, watching travel, and do this. Was really good. It's leveled off over the last couple of seasons, but here they go out to play Arizona, which is a rival. Arizona would say the Dodgers and Arizona have some kind of rivalry there. And now you have the Dodgers who are 9-10 on the road. Or 10, they're not the best road team, and they're laying loose wood all the time. So if you're betting the Dodgers on the road, most likely as a favorite, you're losing money. Case in point, the Diamondbacks are not, a good home team. They've been under 500 home team. Something's got to give. I like the underdog taking a chance at the the Diamondbacks were home yesterday. Dodgers traveling cross country, going back, getting closer to home. Maybe they're a little more relaxed after a big win. Hit well in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings yesterday. You might want to take a live underdog. And then the other thing I'm looking at is the Tigers. I've been on them for the last 2 years. Here they are in Colorado. Last night they're down 3-0. Great live number. You think they're going to come back early in the first inning. They get it they take the lead, and then Colorado comes back and it stays at 6-6. I turn it off thinking I can't lose the bottom of the ninth, and I turn the score back on. I see they got 2 in the top of the 10th. They win 8-6. So in this case today is the old doubleheader adage. Do the Tigers get swept? I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't think so. So I'm going to take them in game 1. And if they lose, I'm going to double up in game 2. The problem you have is Screwball, who hasn't pitched since Friday, is not listed as pitching today. So I'm wondering if they got Texas coming in, who's getting a game 2 pitcher, because you don't know who it is. But now everything's action. So do the bookmakers even care? So you might get an advantage in the price betting game 1 with the Tigers. If they win, you shut it down no matter who's pitching in game 2. You take your winnings and go. That would be my little baseball philosophy, today with looking at those 2 different matchups.
I love it. You're getting into it. I mean, the game 2 starter, which brings up a trivia question. I was one of the 3 million people. I actually was at the Jim Bunning perfect game, 1964 at Shea, when the Phillies on Father's Day shut out the New York Mets on a no-hitter by the great Jim Bunning. And the trivia question would be, who started game 2 for the Philadelphia Phillies? I often ask this, as everybody says, well, I was there. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, my dad took me. And I'm thinking, bullshit. And sure enough, the answer was Rick Wise. Rick Wise.
I was going to say that. That's unbelievable. I remember he was a Philly there. I was wondering if I had heard that trivia question.
Started the second game. I believe the final was 8-5, 8-4, something like that, Philadelphia. And the Mets were not a very good team at the time. In the inaugural season of Shea Stadium, managed to blow both ends of a doubleheader. So that was great. All right, Mike, Big Gunner, what do you have going on? Did Tommy DeVito, the fact that he requested a trade, do you see that actually taking place?
I think Tommy DeVito's all Jersey. I think he's going to do everything he can to stay on the roster at some point, maybe a practice squad player, as a 4th quarterback. We'll see what we get out of Jameis and Russell and Dart. I'm interested in the little hoop brouhaha in the middle about the number. I suggested Abdul Carter take 57 and be right next to Lawrence Taylor in the annals and try to do that. I like that Taylor and Sims both must have gotten together in conversation. Said, we're not giving this guy our number. Let him go and earn it. Let him go and prove it. I think it comes back to the Malik Neighbors situation where he took on Ray Flaherty, a historical giant who wore the number 1 and was the first ever number retired by the NFL, by any team. So when the Flaherty family offered that to Neighbors, maybe gave Carter the idea that he could go ask about this. I'm looking forward to seeing where the schedule comes out next week. May 14th is schedule release. I think it's very key for the Giants to get off to a good start this year. I think controls the fan base. I think an 0-3 start, they'll come after Brian Dable no matter how good what he's doing with Jackson Dart. So as a guy who likes continuity in your organization, I'm really hopeful that the Giants get off to somewhere like a 2-2, 3-2 start. This way the fan base can embrace what we're trying to do instead of going at it and trying to eliminate everybody. I think that's what we do. I think we jump around on these coaches and GMs now thinking that they're the wrong guy after 3 or 4 years, and that wasn't the organization. Ernie Accorsi was there for a decade. Jerry Reese was there for a decade. George Young was there for 20 years. I think you just got to develop that continuity and trust the fact that though a lot of people are upset with John Mara's football decisions since he's taken over, you just got to hope that happens. So that's what I'm looking for in the next week or two. Schedule release, seeing where the Giants are, hearing about mini camps and getting ready for camp, seeing where Jackson Dart fills in and where he comes out, and then, trying to see, as long as we stay healthy, I think we're going to be very competitive.
Mike Jones, the Big Gunner podcast, coming up. Releases and starts Tuesdays at 10 o'clock right here on NoFilter.net. Always a pleasure, my friend. Good luck with all your plays. It's been about as bizarre as ever trying to come up with something definitive with the postseason. Although, again, reinforcement on our theory. Wait till your team is positioned to be in an insurmountable hole. And then that's the time to fire, and you'll be able to make up for a lot of that juice you lost with the Dodgers going 2-1 on the road. Mike, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
All right, that's Mike Jones, ladies and gentlemen. And for Mike, I'm going to say, hey, good luck, everybody, with all your plays, and we'll catch you tomorrow with the professor, who's been on fire with get this, Mike Jones, Australian rules football. I believe he's undefeated on the program. He found this during the pandemic, and he's been consistent. And who cares what you're betting on if you're winning? It doesn't have to be the most celebrated of events. It's just as much fun to cash on who the next pope will be. All right, thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure, my friend. For Mike Jones, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you on the next episode of Bury Your Bookie.